and welcome to SOLIDWORKS Skills video.
Many times we want to have multiple versions or configurations of a given part. An example would be pipe. The dimensions, the cross-section of the pipe won't change from part to part, but the length certainly will. So we're going to create a single instance of the cross-section. I'll do a file new and a part. Let's create a simple pipe. Go to Features, Extruded, click on a plane, and we'll create a circle within a circle, which is what pipe essentially is. Okay, there's a reference pipe. You'll use your actual dimensions. So we'll escape out of that, go to Dimension, we'll dimension the outer one. Let's make it a 2-inch pipe on the outside, and it will scale automatically. And we'll create an initial length, but we're going to modify this through a design table in just a moment. So I'll give it an initial length of 10 inches, and there we are with our pipe. Now we could go ahead and use this in an assembly, but I don't want to. What I really want is to be able to create 1 and then 2 and then 5 and then however many versions of it that are in different length. We need to turn on certain visibility here. They're hidden in different places in SOLIDWORKS. It can take a while to find it if you don't know what you're looking for. First, I'll right-click on Annotations and show Feature Dimensions. Well, what that does is to show the dimensions of the part in a sticky way out on the graphics area, so I can see that I sure enough have a 10-inch length. I also want to turn on the name. I want to be able to see the name, so let's go to View, Hide Show, and find Dimension Names, and you see that there's a dimension name for each of these. This dimension name is within that sketch. Look at the @sketch, D1 @sketch 1. This is within the feature or the boss extrude that I created. If I double click on this, I can change the dimension, but that's not what I want to do. What I want to do is to create a name. I want to give it a more meaningful name. I'm going to call it pipe length. I'll click on OK, and now sure enough there is the name showing up. I can use that name. I could have used D1, but I prefer to use a name that means something to me. I will insert a table, which is a design table. And you'll see in a moment what it's going to create is a small, what looks like an Excel spreadsheet. Make sure that you've checked the following things. On source, we would click blank. We do not want to auto create. I often avoid the automatic functions in SOLIDWORKS. Under edit control, we want the design table to drive the model, not the other way around. So we're going to block model edits that would update the table. And now when I click on the OK box, I'm brought to two things. First of all, I'm given the ability to add rows and columns. Generally, I'm going to select, we can discuss this at some other time, but I'm going to select the default, allow the defaults. Click on OK, and you see now here I am with a table, and it's already highlighted the header of the first column, waiting for me to say which dimension is going to be a driving dimension. I could add several, but in this case I'm just going to add the one. So I'll double click on this, and now it has a header which says pipe length. Well, that's the name of the variable, and it tells me what context, the boss extrude 1. Let's rename the instance. The first one will be a 10-inch pipe. That's okay, and then I'll create a second one which I'll call a 12-inch pipe. Now that name is, you can type anything you want, that name does not drive it. What drives it is I'm going to enter a number 12 here. So now I have two configurations or two versions of this pipe that I can select later on. Let's even add a third one. We'll call a 14-inch pipe, and I'll put the appropriate number in here, 14. And now that I'm done with that, let's say that I'm finished and I'm ready to use this. Click away from everything out in the open field and it will work on it, and then it will create a message telling you that it's created the configurations that you named, and there are the names that I applied, and I'll say OK. It's still in the original configuration. We would go over to the Configuration Manager and observe there is now a table showing up in the list, and the default is what I originally dimensioned it to, but notice that there are now 3 available configurations, 10, 12, and 14. Those are the names that I punched in. Let's say I want to make this a 12-inch pipe. So I'll double click on 12-inch. Notice that it got longer and the dimension now shows 12. I say, no, what I really wanted was a 14-inch. I'll double click on that instead. It changes the length, selects that other configuration. Okay, this is good. Now we're ready to start using this in an assembly. Let's go ahead and save this part. I don't want to lose what I have, so I'll call it just pipe. You would give it a name that makes sense for you. Pipe .sldprt, and I'll save it. Okay, so now I have this thing. Let's go ahead and create a new assembly into which I will place this pipe. So here we are. Click on the pipe. I'll place the instance in there, and initially comes in the configuration that you left that part. We can select other configurations without changing the base part. So I'll right click on here, configure component, and you'll see, let me give myself a little bit of room here. I'll stretch these out. It's another spreadsheet looking thing. The configuration, notice if I click the down arrow, here are the various choices that I had created when I created the configurations in the part. Let's say I want to use a 10-inch pipe. We'll click on OK, and now what I've inserted is a 10-inch pipe. Just so that you can see you can have multiple of these configurations in one assembly, I'm going to insert a component. I'll insert the pipe again. It comes in its original 14-inch configuration. That's the default. And let's make this a 12-inch pipe. So I'll right click on this, configure component, click on 12-inch pipe. So now here I am using a single part to have multiple configurations within my assembly. There are many good YouTube videos that show how to create configurations. I will put a link to one that I happen to particularly like up on Moodle. The reason I made this particular video is that none of the videos that I've been able to locate illustrate how to use feature dimensions. They show how to use sketch dimensions, but feature dimensions are a little more challenging to apply.
Thank you for watching. This video is part of a series created by Neil Rosenberg and Joseph Caswell. All rights reserved.